You're welcome back to News Desk. Now, patients who visit hospitals accredited by the National Health Insurance Scheme may not get medicines to treat their ailments from Monday. This is because pharmaceutical distributors will, from February 10, 2014, suspend supply of medicines to the hospitals across the country. You recall that last week, the Ghana Chamber of Pharmacy warned its members will suspend further drug supplies to health service providers under the NHIS following failure of service providers to reimburse distributors for medicines supplied. My colleague Yafosua Jemfi followed this beat and brought the story last week.
On Monday, February 3, the Ghana Pharmacy Chamber threatened to stop supplying medicines to hospitals working with the National Health Insurance Scheme due to delayed payment of claims.
Sometimes you have to go for bank overdraft and loans in order to bridge the funding gap because you have your money locked up somewhere. And as you try to sustain operations, you have to go for loans, overdraft, and sometimes more credit from your supplier. In the interim, we are looking at making full payments so that the capital and the money's lockup, in terms of they will not unduly be affected by some of the microeconomic indicators I talk about, interest rates, inflation, and more importantly, the depreciation of the cedi.
Though the current problem seems to have been resolved, there's still some challenges with the pharmaceutical supply chain. Medicines in Ghana within the context of claims payment account for well over 52% of the National Health Insurance Scheme claims payment, according to officials of the NHIA. For some health service providers, there are serious challenges in procuring drugs to serve their clients as the delay in payment claims hinders the medicine supply chain, thereby affecting business negatively.
When you are buying from the suppliers, it's normally within 60 to 90 days. You have to settle them and then maybe get a new supply. But if you are going to render service and then 4 months down the lane you are not paid, as a private institution, it puts a lot of pressure on you. You will have to look for other funds to make sure that you render quality health care.
But the communications manager of the Health Insurance Authority, Salom Adonu, said the authority is considering entering into negotiations with the pharmacy chamber to find a lasting solution to the problem.
If we are one of their major clients, then we think that we have to engage them on that, and that is what we are doing. And a lot of talk has gone into that already. We really hope that we will begin to see the fruits in the coming. The medicines really is a big cost driver. 51% of our entire claims we pay go into medicines, and that is huge. So if we're able to deal with some of these matters, I think the pressure will come down a bit.
Going forward, he also advised service providers to submit claims on time so as to help in the processing of claims.
But well, that hasn't happened. What we're doing now is we'll raise Salom Adonu of the NHIA over the telephone. We'll find out from him what went wrong with the discussions, if it happened at all, with the Ghana Chamber of Pharmacy. Though the Health Ministry has said it knew nothing of a Chamber of Pharmacy. It's happened that they have withdrawn and suspended. They have withdrawn and suspended their services. But Stanley Ajay, who is head of research and advocacy at the Chamber of Pharmacy, is over the telephone now. Would speak to Stanley briefly. Hello, Stanley.
Hello.
Thanks for joining us on News Desk, Stanley.
Yeah, thank you very much.
The NHIA is saying that it's paid your monies.
Let me start by saying, in the first place, we deal with the health facilities, that's the service provider under the health. So the money will first have to go to the service providers, and they will onward pay us. And our understanding is that some money covering a period of 2 months has been released. Even by way of processes is going, so our expectation is that very soon, within a matter of days, some 2 months payment will be received for our drug supply.
And so why do I hear that you've suspended your services?
And that was before the day we gave. We were very positional, or our position was that we will go by our position as our earlier release. But following the payment and in the interest of the public and the service general public and subscribers under the scheme. We are holding on and we are supplying, following the release, and except to add that the release is not in a substantial, it's not good enough to be able to substantially restore our operations into normalcy. So whilst we will supply, most of our suppliers or the suppliers, most of them, they are warehouses and they've exhausted all means they can supply. So we wait for this money to be able to start supplying our operations, and also those who can supply to will be, except to add that it will be at a minimal or limited scale.
Stanley, I'm confused. Are your members distributing medicines or not?
So now those ones that are able to, we've gone ahead to agree that they should go ahead, except that they are limited in terms of what they can supply because of the payment and cash flow issue. But those that can, the argument is that they are to be in service, except that things should work fast in terms of the payment so that a reasonable level of normalcy will restore into the operation.
What kind of response is it that these healthcare providers are giving you for having delayed your payment?
The only response for the delay is that they've since not received their claims from the National Health Insurance Authority.
But you and I just got an understanding that indeed the monies have been paid.
Yes, some release has been made covering a period of 2 months, and in a matter of a day or two or some few days, with the service providers will intend to pay us. So it's a good news or it's a good sign, except to add that further releases will need to be made so that normal operations can restore, so that there will not be even shortfall of drug supply for us not to be in the position even to supply. So now the point has gotten to where the distributors and the suppliers were stretched to the extent that even the ability or capacity to supply were sort of limited. So as payments are coming in, we know we can, based on these assurances, we can make some orders and we will be able to do some minimal level, and as more release that come, then our operations can be restored fully.
What you were requesting for was payments May, July 2013.
Come again, please.
You were requesting for your arrears May to July 2013.
Yes.
And is that a payment that has been made, or we are talking about fresh payments?
We are talking about payments. For us in our books, or our position is that some of these facilities owned from May, whilst others owned from July. So now we understand that for health insurance, they pay some of, that's why our position wasn't entirely that all people from May have been paid. But now we understand health insurance released that of July, and I guess for 2013. So that's what we will have to make do with it, only that it won't go a long way to address the issue that we are confronted with currently.
But your request was that you be paid May, July, because you're having cash flow issues and you can't give us full medicines at our NHIS accredited hospitals. What does this mean for your service?
What does this mean for
your services, for service delivery?
What it means simply is that so now we move away from even being a threat that we will not supply the drugs to it being that the supplies has been stretched to their limit. They've exhausted and explored all options in order to keep supplies and operations. But it's gotten to a stage where, because of interest rates, depreciation of the city, etc., the combined effect has been that it's going so much and affecting the operations so much. So what it means is that whilst they may be in a position to be in business and be doing business with the service providers, it won't be as it's expected to be because of the limitations in cash flows.
Stanley, let's move away from that briefly. But what is the Chamber of Pharmacy? Does it even exist? Because according to the Health Ministry, they don't even know about you.
And it's worse that's why our complaint also is not necessarily addressed them, except that in the mother body for health delivery, they will come in at all costs. It works this way that there is a pharmaceutical distributor that has come together to promote their cause. So they express concern that they've not been paid. The health insurance deals directly with the service provider. So even if anything, we don't have a contract with the health insurance, except that we are complaining we've not been paid, and it will go a long way to affect health delivery. So it is the health facilities that have direct contact with them. So and they are equally complaining. So we are not alone, just in a way, in quotes, making noise or just talking. The service providers themselves are equally complaining, forming associations so as to ensure that some of these things don't come. So they can say it on one hand, but they cannot claim the issues we face are not valid.
Of course, so for the Chamber of Pharmacy, it doesn't matter that the Health Ministry does not know about you.
No, the no will be in the context that maybe they don't deal with you, that they don't supply you, or they don't have contact with you, and for that matter, you can't even come to them directly to make
Stanley,
payment, because the payment will have to.
I understand, Stanley. Let me quote you what the Health Ministry told me. We have never heard of the Chamber of Pharmacy. Does it bother you?
It would be surprising for them to say exactly that, but bother a little, but not that much. And we are expected to hold some meetings with them, which didn't happen. But now we've announced ourselves severally on different occasions and different platforms. So it will be surprising that they don't know us. But if they don't, we will formally go to them and tell them that we've now come and we are Association of Pharmaceutical Establishments in to protect the interests of our members.
Right. And so in the future, for the Ghana Chamber of from the Chamber of Pharmacy, it's a bit difficult saying that, but we'll get past it. From the Chamber of Pharmacy, how do you suggest that the authority, the NHIA, deals with some of your payment issues so we avoid situations as this?
Yeah, going forward, in the past as well, payment has not been that any good, except that this is the time we come out. So going forward, we expect that as the payments will be forthcoming as they are due, so that it will not put on due strain on operations of the businesses operating under the health insurance. So, for example, you go for loan or your money stays in for months, and when it is reimbursed to you, it's the same amount. So maybe there should be some like penalty clause that maybe any delay for a month attracts, say 1 month, 5% per month, etc. So that some sense of urgency will be infused into the payment of claims and so on and etc. So going forward, we think that we must address this one and for all. As they are unable to pay it causes so much stress and difficulties for all service providers and suppliers under the scheme.
I see. Thank you very much, Stanley.
Yeah, thank you too.
Stanley Ejay is Head of Research and Advocacy at the Chamber of Pharmacy. He tells me they have called off the suspension of the non-delivery of medicines to hospitals across the country due to non-payment of some arrears that were owed to them. He says the authorities released some funds for the payment of July arrears, and they have started giving some medicines, except it's in limited supply. Don't forget you can join me with your comments on any of the topics we are discussing this morning on facebook.com/Joynews on TV or on Twitter @Joynews. I tweet as well @Joynews on TV. Or I have a personal page also on Facebook, KeminiAmano.com. I'll be so glad to share your messages with the rest of us in the News Desk community. To come, who owns the legal right to use the franchise name Ghana Music Week? Is it Musica or Maritime Entertainment? We'll deal with that issue. But now, Most Reverend Professor Emmanuel Mate, moderator of the General Assembly of the Presbyterian Church of Ghana, the Most Reverend said, or he has criticized parliamentarians and ministers of state who abandon their jobs to attend school. Quoting him, he asks, how can you hold a governing position, leave your office, and go to school? Is Ghana short of graduates? And that's a question from the moderator. Right Reverend Professor Marty said this while delivering a sermon to mark the dedication of an ultra-modern structure put up by the Epiphany Congregation of the Presbyterian Church of Ghana in Wa. He continues saying, certain jobs and positions are not for students, and that doing such is a way of shirking responsibilities on the part of some parliamentarians and ministers, contributing to low productivity and translating into lack of cash of payment for workers. And then he says, quoting again, "Do not get me wrong, I am not speaking against high economic pursuit and capacity building, but there are certain jobs that are not for boys and girls." And, well, let's speak to Stanley Mate. Stanley Mate is aged to Professor, Right Reverend Professor Mate. In the meantime, while we put Stanley over the telephone, let's talk to David Acquah. David Acquah is Executive Director for the Ghana Institute of Governance and Security. Hello, David.
Yeah, thank you, Kamani.
Absolutely. What's your interpretation to what Reverend has said?
In fact, with this issue, I think that I will disagree with my old professor. In a sense that, I mean, you could be, working at the same time, schooling. I mean, in this modern world, learning is such that you could do it at any point in time. But when it conflicts with your work, maybe using your working time to school, that one is not good for Ghana. But in the evening, for instance, between the hours of 8 to 10, you could still, learn at that time. And in economics, we have something we call learning curve. That means that you cannot cease to learn. Every single day you need to update yourself. And as much as you are working within government sector, you need to be abreast with every single information. For instance, if you are not a law student and then you want to broaden your horizon as far as law profession is concerned, you could go to classroom after working hours to go and upgrade yourself in terms of learning. So I think that when it conflicts with your working schedule, that one, it is not good. And it is ethically not good as well. So on that score, I would disagree with my professor. And so I think that ministers also need to ensure that they use their time, judiciously as far as their working is concerned. People must see them doing what is much practicable as much as they can. So I think that it is very debatable, but learning, we cannot cease to learn at any point in time at all.
But are there any regulations as to how or who should become a parliamentarian? Once you're a student, you can't be a parliamentarian. What is the standard?
For me, if you are a student, you cannot be parliamentarian. For me, it is still a debatable issue. You can be a parliamentarian. If you can actually manage your time properly. That is my concern. If you cannot manage your time properly, and then your schooling conflicts with your work schedule, that one, I would say that then you need not to go to parliament. But when you realize that you can go to school, maybe probably in the evening, like I said earlier on, if in the evening between the hours of 7 to 12 midnight, you can engage a lecturer, you can go to classroom and learn, and which does not conflict with your normal working schedule that starts from between 7 to 5 p.m. That one, somebody can enroll and better his understanding of whatever is happening within the confines of his profession.
So I was asking, what is the standard in this country, if there's any?
For me, there is no standard as you speak. If there is any standard, I have not chance upon it yet. But the standard, as far as my knowledge is concerned, is that people who learn, who jump into any extra classes or evening classes and better understand certain things that they are not privy to. For instance, I am not a legal practitioner, but if I want to go into law school, probably to upgrade myself as far as law profession is concerned, I can do that after my normal working hours. But I wouldn't like to do it when I'm supposed to work to actually help the society. I'm using that time to go to benefit my own self. That one, I will not do it.
In the event that this is actually happening, what can we do about it?
what we need to do is to actually caution them, probably if it is conflicting with their normal working schedule. We need to caution them and tell them that you are employed, you are engaged, you are being appointed as a minister, and this is what you must do at the normal working hours.
Reverend suggests that certain jobs and positions are not for students, and that you can't, if you're a student and you think it will conflict with work, just don't do it. Would that be one of the solutions to the problem, if indeed it is happening?
Yeah, Kevin, I want to emphasize the point again that if it conflicts with your working normal schedule, that one, it is not good to, go that way. But then, I will still make the strong point that if it does not conflict with your normal working hours, that start between 7 to 5 p.m., fine enough. I mean, Professor has gone through the ladder, right from first degree to master's to PhD to become a professor. And I can bet you that he has schooled in abroad. And that is what they do best over there. In abroad, after your normal working hours, you need to go to classroom and upgrade yourself. And that is all what all the professors in Ghana have done throughout the year. So we cannot change the status quo at this point in time. But then I want to make a strong point that if it conflicts with the minister's work, if it conflicts with the MP's work at the parliament, then of course it is a cause to worry about.
I see. Thank you very much, David.
Thank you so much, Kamani.
David Acquah is Executive Director for the Ghana Institute of Governance and Security. What we do is we raise aid to Most Reverend Professor Emmanuel Mate over the telephone, try and get an explanation and elaboration on this, have him elaborate more on exactly what Reverend meant by this. In the meantime, share your thoughts with me, Joynews on TV, on Facebook, Kimini Aman on Facebook, or at Joynews on TV on Twitter. I also tweet at Kimini, and I'll share your thoughts with the rest of us here in the community. I'll be right back. I'm glad you could stay on. Now, the title of who has the legal right to use the franchise and brand name Ghana Music Week has started again between the Musicians Union of Ghana, Musica, and one hand and owners of Maritime Entertainment on the other. Days after Musica launched the 2014 edition of the Ghana Music Week Festival, artist manager Fene Kotre and rapper Kokese have dared the association's president, Bice Obuo, to go ahead with the festival if he wants to be slapped with a legal suit. And indeed, when Musica launched the 2013 edition last year, Fennec cried foul, claiming he had registered Ghana Music Week and therefore Musica had no legal right to use the brand name. After broad stakeholder consultations, Fennec yielded to police for Musica to be allowed to go ahead with the event last year because preparations were far advanced and all was set to roll. And, well, he further says that if they wanted to use the name, they had to negotiate with them, which is the Maritime Entertainment Group first. But for some reason, they are not calling it the GMW Festival. They are now calling it the GMW Festival. The question Fennec is asking is what the GMW means. And Fennec says that he and Kokese are the rightful owners of the brand, because even when Musica went to the Registrar General's department to register, it was already there. And the story goes on and on. But according to Musica, they held the event first in 2002. And then in 2013, Musica decided to revive it again. But Rexoma, who is with Musica, says he did not understand why Fennec and Kwakese would go ahead to the Registrar General's department and register it as their company. We'll try and get the parties involved to explain further what this means, because the GMW we thought had come to stay. But we understand that the GMW has a full meaning, Ghana Music Week, which belongs to someone else, Fene Kotre and Maritime Entertainment. We'll also try and get an entertainment lawyer over the telephone and understand the issue at hand. That really, what are the odds in this particular story? We'll do that shortly, but let's deal with some other business which is not show business. And you recall that the Bank of Ghana had come up with a lot of measures to arrest the devaluing cedi on the currency markets, one of which was to tackle the dollarization of our economy. But the question is, we know this, the Bank of Ghana has always tried to do it, and we haven't seen any change. In fact, some hotels, some schools, some organizations in the country still charge in dollars. Without dollars, you can't patronize their services. What will be the way forward? We've seen some African countries do it. Why is it difficult for Ghana to stomp a foot and then deal with the situation? Also, government is meeting the Bank of Ghana today to try and understand the measures that it has come up with when it comes to arresting the cedi fall. And we are asking, what should be the important questions government should be asking the Bank of Ghana governor, so that we can have a fair balance in understanding of what these measures are. You recall also that analysts are torn over the measures that the Bank of Ghana has come up with. And so we'll do that when I return. Don't go away. Glad you could stay on. Now let's talk the falling cedi and the measures the central bank has come up with to arrest the situation. One of our biggest problems is dollarization. Besides our heavily imports-led economy, dollarization has also become a problem that seems to stay with us and won't go away. But the Bank of Ghana has come up with these measures to work in conjunction with the police to deal with those who insist on discharging their services after you've paid them some dollars. Sami Ampa is over the telephone. He is with the Gold Coast Fund Management. Hello, Sami. Hello, Sami.
Yes, hello. Good morning.
Good morning to you. Let's deal with the issue of dollarization quickly. When you look at the measures the Bank of Ghana seems to or hopes this time to use in dealing with the situation, the issue of dollarization, what are your thoughts?
Well, this is not the first time the Bank of Ghana is seen working to stop the issue of dollarization in this country. I recall that in 2012, even let's backtrack to 2011 and 2012, when the cedi was having its turbulent times. The Bank of Ghana issued some press statement that they were seriously going to work on dollarization. Now, it is seen that they want to get serious with it. Now they engaged security agencies to assist them to be able to stop the activities of organizations that are much more engaged in dollarization. But, you know, the situation is not as easy as we see it. There are institutions that price their services in dollars. How can you stop them? You know, you just have to go around the country and then stop them. That is one. That is key. They say they're going to work along with the security service. That's a better way. But can they do that to the tilt? That is one thing that baffles my mind, because this is not the first time they've talked about it. Will they be successful in that approach? That is the biggest question that we all should bother ourselves with.
They say in this country we do most of our businesses with the Chinese, and yet we still price in dollars. Our imports are bought with the dollars. And it's something that, if the idea of arresting dollarization is to help the cedi, then we should probably start trading in the yen. How will this change the situation, if it can at all?
You know, I believe that the Bank of Ghana is finding possible solutions to the problem. And one possible solution is the fact that they want to encourage a lot more of these traders who use the dollar to go to China to buy their goods now to concentrate on the RMB. The RMB is the Chinese currency. Now, what then means is that instead of now chasing the dollar, you will want to buy the RMB and go into China to trade with. That could be one heavy solution that would take off the pressure on the dollar. However, we should also be careful that if the RMB, the value for exchange, goes higher than the dollar, then traders will switch back to the dollar and now want to use the dollar as an exchange for their goods and services in China. That is the risk. So then it might be a short-term solution, but it might also escalate in the future if the RMB now becomes more expensive to buy. Then they will switch to the dollar. If you recall that when Ghana was trading very much with the Dutch mark, before the euro, before the convergence, I mean, before the European countries decided to spend the euro,
right?
You realize that at that time the Dutch mark was in high value. The depreciation was very much at that time against the pound sterling as well. So a lot more of the people now changed trade to now start importing, most importantly, cars from the USA. Now, most cars that are coming into this country are coming from the USA, not from the euro countries, because euro is expensive now to get an euro. That is what might happen. If the RMB becomes that expensive, they will now switch back to the dollar. So then it goes back to the problem that we are trying to now solve. It comes back, and this time it might come very heavy on us. It's a good approach, but it has also its implications for the long term.
I see. Does the central bank have the capacity? Does the central bank have the will to be able to deal with, for instance, these 5-star, 4-star hotels and grade A schools who charge in dollars?
Look, the central bank has the capacity. One, the issue is whether they have the human capital, whether they have the technology to do that. Because these guys, you're coming after them, they might be evasive, especially the black market people. They might be very evasive. So you need to have information to be able to track them and to get them to do that. Countries like South Africa have been able to do that. Today, if you go, you can go to South Africa. If you go to South Africa and even talk to somebody about dollar, the person will look at your face strangely and think that what's this dollar? He's not even heard about dollar before. Okay, all that they know is their rand. So it's something that we have to do, and I believe that we have to start from somewhere, and then move on to get the results that we are expecting. The central bank should not relax on it to ensure that this issue of dollarization is halted. Now, there are some institutions that will claim that most importantly, hotels that will claim that they receive a lot of foreigners into the country. That excuse should not be listened to by the central bank. That foreigners come and then they come and they hold the dollar. Why should you trade in? Why should you then take? You can take the dollar, but you do not display. You do not. The word is you do not display your prices in dollars, and do not relate it. You should display your prices in cities. I just heard on radio not too long ago that those who want to visit Brazil, they should pay $100. That is wrong. That radio station, whoever made that presentation, should be arrested. Because if you are promoting a trip to Brazil and you are saying that they should pay $100 and you, the final consumer, should now relate it to the local currency, that is dollarization. Nobody should do that. Dollars should not be mentioned in any communication or in as a consideration for the services that anybody gives out. That is wrong.
Let's move away from dollarization for a minute. We have very little time to go and talk about the overall measures the central bank has come up with. Today, government to try and understand some of these measures. You recall that people like yourself have been torn over whether or not these stringent measures were good or they were going to hurt us more by promoting black market transactions. What should government's discussions be around to have a real balance on whether this is good or not?
You know, I want to believe that government understands the problem that we are facing as a country now. We've just been informed that the president is having a cabinet meeting on this current exchange rate differentiation. The central bank is also meeting the heads, CEOs of banks. I think it is all in the direction of finding short to medium term solutions to the problem. Now, what we're experiencing now is deeper than what perhaps we are talking about. There is a serious issue of financial mismanagement in this economy. And that should be, I believe, at cabinet level. That should be what the president should be discussing with his cabinet members. The issue to do with corruption is one key reason why we have a high rate of depreciation of our currency. Because why am I saying this? If you're a country, if you look at Greece, if you look at Turkey, if you look at South Africa, it is because the South African government is tagged as corrupt. And you saw the boos that he had, the president had, when he was giving a speech at Mandela's memorial service.
So, Sammy, unfortunately, we'll have to go. We'll probably continue this conversation in subsequent broadcasts. Thank you very much all the same. Sammy Ampa is head of research, Gold Coast Fund Management, and unfortunately it's time for me to go already, which means that I can't read your messages. I apologize profusely for that. But with the issue of the Ghana Music Week, expect us to deal with this in subsequent broadcasts. I'll see you again at midday on News Today. Thank you very much for watching News Desk. Love the week. Have a great week. Goodbye.